Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update, where we give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. Today is Friday, December 8th, so we're wrapping up the first full trading week of December. Of course, crypto's week ends on Sunday, so no concern for really closing anything out yet, but there are a few things on the charts and in the realms of funding that are a little bit sketchy, but of course, everything is looking great so far. Crypto total market cap again up another 1.4%. Bitcoin is up. Ethereum is up. Bitcoin, leading Ethereum recently, but Ethereum did bust out yesterday, and the possibility that that will continue through the weekend. Of course, Ethereum sentiment looking better than Bitcoin sentiment, so it does support that thesis. But we do know you never really want to fade Bitcoin. So total tweet volume is up, retail is active, total trading volume hovering around 70 billion. So around our magic numbers. ADA was actually the coin of the day in yesterday's members research email. So if you longed ADA, I know one of our moderators, Petruccio, is a big ADA guy, so he's loving that action. And then we have a bunch of, Radium, I think, is a DEX on Solana. And, of course, ADA is up there. Serum is also a DEX on Solana. So a lot of Solana plays really ripping as well. And as we can see, stablecoin exchange net flows, a lot of stables being added. So does look good for a continued bullish price action. But one thing I do want to share before we get into too deep, and this is just kind of this is a red flag in my book. So funding is positive, which is bearish, as exampled by the red on the chart. So means a lot of people are longing. If there is a flush, it would be pretty steep and serious. It does not mean there will be a flush. This could normalize with prices still moving higher, provided, if people start kind of inching out of their longs, but still buying spot. But this is definitely, just something to kind of be aware of, that, we're kind of in quote unquote flush territory, but that does not mean that it will happen. So it's just something to kind of consider. Also, before I get into talking about the charts, the unemployment rate, I don't know why the data is not on here. Let's refresh it one more time. But that's weird. But imagine there's a number here. It's actually 3.7%. So unemployment rate did decline. We had more jobs added than expected, which is why you saw such weird price action on equities. But as we told the TTC community, and as I kind of explained yesterday, any jobs added are likely going to be seasonal and probably not, going to be lasting into Q1. So the market kind of, had a bit of a shock, but recovered pretty quickly. And I believe wage inflation is down. So kind of exactly what I talked about yesterday. And unemployment rate can decline as long as hourly wage inflation also declines. Due to the fact that most jobs added, are going to be seasonal right now. And it does seem the market kind of took it that way. So DXY did jump up, but then sold off, right around the highs that I mentioned. Remember, we have to get above that level to then get up here, obviously getting sold off again. So we kind of have a triple tap here. So definitely, hoping to see DXY kind of curl back. But again, if we do make it above here, that will be the area of interest, which is, 104.6. And then if we drop below 103.6, we should start crabbing down to this area and then targeting that area if this level is broken. So no real concern from DXY, but obviously if it does start chatting up into next week, we do have FOMC next Wednesday. So that is something to also be concerned about. But as long as it gets cut off here, you should see risk assets head higher. So looking at equities, very weird. We did say this is going to be steep resistance up here at this 4,600 level. Obviously, we got rejected from it. Does not mean that we can't recover. So if we can hold above these levels right here, we can still kind of start moving back up and then hopefully eclipse that level. But I'm going to remove this since that already played out. And this already played out as well. We said if it dropped below 4.5, I think 4.580 was our number, it would probably tag 4.563. It did do that. And then so obviously if it breaks below this low right here, it'll head down to these lows, which have been pretty well defended. But again, if we do break below 4.540, then we would head down here. That would shift market structure a little bit. But again, we've still got these higher highs here. So if we just broke back down here, it would kind of negate a few of these, but we would still be kind of forming equal highs or higher highs at the end of the day. So moral of the story is you obviously want to stay around here. The more you kind of chop in here, the likely you are to kind of do something like that. And then obviously if we get cut back down, we'll head back down to this level again. And then you have this level. So again, tough to bet on a break today. It's a Friday. But I think, the wisest thing to do, in my opinion, is observe what people do at the close today. So a lot of times, if there's a lot of buying at the close, you'll see prices open higher. Doesn't mean it won't sell off like it did. But obviously, if you bought at the close here on Tuesday, you had plenty to sell on Wednesday. And obviously, if you bought at the close, there was a bit of a shock today, but if you held, you would be higher. So we're going to see what happens. I think it's best to wait for equities to see what happens on the daily close, because this rejection definitely doesn't look friendly. But as long as we can, stay right around this level, at the worst case scenario, then we could still end up moving higher into next week. Let's look at Bitcoin. Yeah, we are on the 1 hour. I'm going to get rid of the stuff down low. So we said that if you can get above this high right here, you should be able to attack the local high up top. Obviously, it's struggling at this high right here. So if we end up getting rejected, we would look, to this area. And then if we broke below this area, we would look to this area. And then if you break below this low right here, which also is pretty much equalized with the weekly VWAP, then you would drop back down here, which coincides with the high back here. So basically the key levels that I'm looking at for Bitcoin, and I'm going to remove these to make it a little bit easier on you to see resistance and support. This is resistance. This is support. So, anything in here, I wouldn't be too concerned about. But if you are scalping, if we get rejected up here, we will probably end up, down here, or at worst down here. So that is possible scalp. But again, who's shorting Bitcoin in this kind of environment? The best, I think the best you can do is just be patient and buy dips, in my opinion. So if we can actually break above here, we'll see up here over the weekend. And then if you can get above here, you have free roam all the way up here. Doesn't mean we will immediately jump up, but I've been saying all week, I think it's more likely than not that we break above 44.5 in the next week or so. So any dips are for buying. I'm definitely interested in buying around 42.4 or basically anywhere above 41.1 because it coincides with this low down here. So if I can get, if you see prices anywhere in this circle, probably not a bad buy in the near term. So, but yeah, it's tough to, continually bet on continuation. We're going to look at the ETH BTC chart, but it does look good in my opinion. Whether or not you're buying any price action like this, that's fine. But I would definitely relax on leverage based on the way that funding looks. But if we do get a nice flush, then you could probably open up, some smaller or higher leverage possibly if we end up down here and then have kind of an immediate buyback. Because if we do something like this and then we immediately shoot back up, remember, you buy the reclaim, you set your stop at the low, and you ride it up. So let's look at ETH. And before we even get into ETH, actually, let's switch this back to 1 hour. Let's remove the junk down there. Let's check out ETH BTC. So we did talk about this earlier in the week, and we mentioned down at this level here that you could possibly enter along with a tight stop and trade it up. Obviously that worked. I didn't take that trade. It was a little bit too risky in my opinion, but again, that triple tap really playing in, 1, 2, triple tap you long. So so we played up, but you really need to get above this level right here to then, push higher. That would be a market structure break in my opinion. So, nothing really to glean from ETH BTC yet, but, this is good trajectory. It just sucks that every time we do see something like that, we end up getting shoveled back down. So let's hope continuation follows for that. But if you're longing ETH, then you might as well be long Bitcoin as well, because they've just kind of been battling back and forth. And obviously, Bitcoin's been winning the fight for the majority of the year. So back to ETH. We'll check out the 1 hour to zoom in a little bit. So moral of the story for ETH is breaking above this previous daily close should bring you up here. Obviously, you might say, Nick, well, there's been a bunch of wicks up here, blah, blah, blah. Well, we haven't had a confirmed break. We haven't had a candle body close above this with a confirmation, which, obviously candle body close up here, no confirmation. So now we're kind of retrying that again. So get above basically the white dotted line, which is the previous daily close, should be able to make it up to the local high. And then if you can make it up above the local high, you should be able to attack that 2440 level, which I've been eyeing for quite some time. And above that level, you've got all the way up to the 2650 area. So right now, that's why I do like ETH. There's a lot of open air. Obviously, the ETH BTC chart recovered, but ETH has been really tricky. And so, if you're longing right here, definitely a little bit more tricky. Probably should have, got in on the action when we were talking about it yesterday. But, I do think if it does close above here, you could put in a long, and I'll go ahead and just kind of like example that long. So, if we do close above with a confirmation, you'd be risking, 1% to possibly make, at the worst, 1.4, but, ideally that 3.6%, you'd probably want to, you'd really want to look up there for that type of trade. So definitely not the best, but I think it is kind of likely. And then of course, in the worst scenario, drop beneath these lows right here, you'll run back to these highs down here, which coincides with the 2300 flat level. So pretty straightforward for ETH in my opinion. But we're just kind of waiting for that confirmation. One coin that I am looking at, which has kind of been Sol's competitor. I wouldn't call it a competitor in the well, I guess technically it is a competitor in the literal sense, but it's one that's kind of been neck and neck with Sol, following very similar movements. And I think I have another. Oh, I thought I had a line up here. So let's look at the next resistance level for AVAX. So yeah, so this is why AVAX looks really beautiful, because if you zoom out enough, you can see all of the open air on this fair value gap, right? So you've got basically your next level of resistance above 29. The hard level resistance is 52. You'll probably face some resistance from this low back here at like 32. But basically if you can get above this high right here, in my opinion, it'll probably bust through that 32 level, and then you've just got basically open air all the way up to 53. So it doesn't mean it'll hit 53 in 2 days, but if you're confident in the market, then getting above this high right here, which I have lined out at between 29.5 and 30, should allow you to have some pretty free roam. So I'm going to go ahead and normalize the chart again. Really do like this one. I'm currently long AVAX. I got in a little bit late, got in a little, down here early this morning around, 27.2, but it's, got that vertical accumulation chart. It's got, nothing but higher highs, right? And then it's got, all these higher lows just kind of continually. So this is a great chart, in my opinion. These are the kind of charts that you want to look for, especially in the kind of market mode we're in. So I'll be looking first up here around 29, maybe all the way up to 30. And then I'll start, 32, and then above 32, it's just absolute open air. Doesn't mean it's, like I said, doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately, but really good volume right here, a lot of good buys. And then we have vertical accumulation, right? So I do like this. I think you can probably get in late. I would, decrease the leverage, maybe put a stop down here. I know it's a wide stop. You could maybe do it right here too if you wanted to tighten it up a little bit, but I'm only 5x levered. I've got a big bag of this, and I think it's going to head higher and make some people's days, hopefully. So definitely would check that one out, in my opinion. And then the chart of the coin of the day today for the TTC members is Sol. I still think Sol can probably hit 76. I think you're definitely running out of room for a great trade for Sol. But again, it's kind of doing this vertical accumulation thing. So if we can get above this high right here, we should be able to attack 76. And then above 76, it's literally open air all the way up to 143. And I'll zoom out and just kind of example that for you guys. But so basically, this is just one large range right here. So if you can get above this level, it's probably going to do something, choppy within the range, but it should be able to make its way up to 143 if it can confirm above 76. So I do like SOL continuously. I fought it a little bit in the beginning, but sometimes you have to succumb. And the one issue with SOL is obviously it's had a fantastic 24 hours. So I do think that it's beginning to be a bit of a crowded trade in my opinion, but I would not be shocked if we see it at 76 by next week. So that being said, going to go ahead and get out of here. Enjoy the rest of the day. Good luck. Happy trading. See everybody on Monday. And again, if you want the daily updates for TTC, all the trades that we're taking, all the coins we're looking at, the sentiment charts, the data, the weekly emails, the daily emails, everything, www.tradethechain.com. And of course, there is a 14-day free trial where you get access to everything, even with the 14-day free trial. So good luck. Happy trading.